It's 3:47 a.m. on I-95 South. Bear's got $340,000 in cash in the back of his armored vehicle. Money that was supposed to be clean, money from a nightclub in South Beach. But the black Escalade that's been following him for the last 12 miles, that's not security. That's not cops. And when they start boxing him in at 80 miles per hour, Bear has about 30 seconds to make a choice that'll determine if he sees sunrise.
I looked in my rear view and saw the passenger window roll down. That's when I knew. This wasn't a shakedown. This was a hit.
What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to The Protection Perspective. I'm your host, Jason, aka Big J, private protection specialist and security company owner. And man, today's episode is going to be one of those stories that reminds you why this work ain't for everybody. I got my guy, Alejandro Bear Jackson, in the building. And trust me, you'll understand the nickname real quick. Bear specializes in something most security guys won't touch with a 10-foot pole: high-risk transport. We're talking cash movements, witness protection runs, assets that people are literally willing to kill for. What you're about to hear is one of those stories that'll have you on the edge of your seat. This is the real deal, no Hollywood bullshit. Let's lock in.
Appreciate you having me, Jay. Yeah, this one still keeps me up sometimes, for real.
Nah, I appreciate you coming through and being willing to share this, homie. So before we dive into the wild stuff, let's start at the beginning, because I know people listening are wondering how somebody even gets into this line of work. Most cats I know in security start with nightclub bouncing or maybe executive protection, standing post looking pretty. But you came from a completely different angle, right? Walk me through how Alejandro Bear Jackson ends up doing armed escort and high-risk transport work.
Yeah, man, so I started in the military, Marine Corps, logistics, and convoy security in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2014. That's where I learned that moving valuable cargo is about way more than just driving from point A to point B. It's intelligence, route planning, threat assessment, backup plans for your backup plans. Over there, we were moving million-dollar equipment through hostile territory where IEDs and ambushes were a daily thing. You learn real quick to trust your gut and never get comfortable.
Hold up, so you were doing convoy security in Afghanistan? That's a whole different level than what most people think security is. I'm saying that's combat zone type work. How old were you when you deployed?
I was 22 on my first deployment, just a baby really. Thought I was invincible, thought I knew everything. Afghanistan humbled me real quick, lost some good friends over there, saw things that changed how I look at the world. But it also gave me skills that most civilians don't have. Staying calm under pressure, reading situations before they go bad, understanding that hesitation gets you killed.
Real talk, that experience is priceless in this industry. You can't teach that in a classroom. So you get out in 2014, you're 26 years old, you got all this experience, but you're back in the civilian world. What's next? Because I know the transition from military to civilian security ain't always smooth. A lot of guys struggle with that.
Man, you're not lying. I got out and I was lost for a minute. No college degree, no corporate skills, just knew how to move cargo and shoot straight. I was working warehouse jobs, hating life, drinking too much. Then a buddy from my unit hit me up. He was working for a private security firm doing cash in transit for casinos in Atlantic City. He said they needed drivers with military experience, people who wouldn't panic if things went sideways. I figured why not, applied, and got hired within a week.
Okay, so that's your entry point into the private sector. Now, for people listening who don't know, explain what high-risk transport actually means, because I think most people hear armored truck and they think Brinks or Loomis, picking up money from ATMs and grocery stores. But what you do is different, right? Break it down.
Yeah, it's completely different. Regular armored car work is scheduled routes, predictable stops, usually insured cargo. High-risk transport is anything where the cargo is valuable enough that someone might actually try to take it by force. We're talking cash movements for operations that can't or won't use banks, casinos, nightclubs, marijuana dispensaries before banking laws changed. Sometimes we move precious metals, high-end jewelry, even cryptocurrency hardware wallets. And sometimes we move people, witnesses, executives in hostile territories, high-value targets who need to disappear quietly.
See, now that's what I'm talking about. That's the real work that people don't see. And I'm guessing the money's different too, because you're not getting paid hourly like some regular security guard. What does that look like? Because I know you're betting your life every time you take one of these jobs.
The money's good, but you earn every dollar. When I started with the casino runs, I was making $800 to $2,200 per run, and you could do 3-4 runs a week if you wanted. But it's not just about driving. You're doing pre-route surveillance, checking for tails, coordinating with local law enforcement sometimes, planning alternate routes, and the whole time you're carrying, You're knowing that if someone tries to rob you, there's no calling timeout. You either handle it or you don't.
Facts. And that's the part people don't understand. It's not the driving that's hard, it's the decision making when everything goes wrong. So you're doing this Atlantic City work, you're getting your feet wet, learning the game. When did you start getting calls for the really sketchy stuff? Because I'm guessing there's levels to this.
By 2017, word gets around in this industry. If you're good, if you're reliable, if you don't ask too many questions but you're smart enough to see danger coming, people start calling you for jobs other guys turn down. I started getting offers for nightclub cash runs in Miami, jewelry district transfers in LA, cryptocurrency courier work, basically anything where the client needed someone who wouldn't fold under pressure and who understood that discretion is part of the job.
Okay, so now we're getting into the Miami chapter. This is where the story gets real interesting. When did you start doing nightclub cash runs specifically? Because I know that world is different. Nightclubs operate in cash. They got connections to all kinds of people, and not all that money is clean. Set the scene for me.
Miami was 2018. I got connected through a security contractor who needed someone for weekly cash runs from high-end clubs in South Beach. And you're exactly right, nightclubs are a different animal. These places do $100,000 to $500,000 in cash on a good weekend just from bottle service, VIP tables, cover charges. But it's not just the legitimate money. You got dealers working the bathroom stalls, girls getting drugged and taken upstairs to private rooms, management taking a cut from everything happening in that building.
Nah, see, that's what I'm saying. People think nightclubs are just about music and drinks, but that's a whole ecosystem of illegal activity, and somebody's got to move all that cash somewhere. So you're the guy they call. What was the name of this club? And more importantly, what were the red flags? Because I know you saw them.
The club was called Velvet, 3 stories, rooftop bar. They'd get A-list DJs every weekend, lines around the block. From the outside, it looked legitimate, professional. But the first time I walked into that counting room, I knew this wasn't a clean operation. First red flag was the owner, guy named Marcus. Never looked me in the eye, always had 2 guys with him who weren't security, they were muscle. Like, you could tell these dudes weren't there to check IDs, they were there to hurt people if needed.
Hold up. So Marcus is the owner, but he's moving like he's scared of somebody. That tells me he's not really the owner. He's just the face. Somebody else is pulling strings. What was the second red flag?
Exactly, you picked up on that quick. Second flag was the counting room itself. Jay, I've been in casino counting rooms. They're clean, cameras everywhere, professional money counters, everything documented. This was a back office with garbage bags full of cash, rubber bands everywhere, and the smell of cocaine in the air. Like, not even trying to hide it. And the amounts never matched the paperwork. They'd say $200,000, but I'm looking at way more than that in the bags.
Damn, so they're not even trying to make it look legitimate. They just need somebody to move the money and not ask questions. Now I'm curious. Did you ask questions or did you just take the job and stay in your lane? Because I know there's a balance there. You don't want to be stupid, but you also don't want to know too much.
At first, I stayed in my lane. My job was simple: show up, load the money, transport it to the designated location, get paid. I wasn't getting paid to be DEA or to care where the money came from. But you can't help noticing things, like the fact that we were always moving money to different locations, never the same bank twice, sometimes to storage units, sometimes to private residences. That's money laundering 101.
Right, right. And I'm guessing you did this run a few times before the incident we're going to talk about. So it became routine. You got comfortable. You thought you had it figured out. Walk me through the setup for the run that went sideways. What made this one different from the others? Because I know something had to feel off before you even loaded the truck.
So this was July 2018, middle of summer, Miami's hot as hell. It was supposed to be a routine Sunday morning pickup, $340,000 in cash from the weekend. The plan was to transport it to a business account in Fort Lauderdale, same as always. But that morning when I pulled up to Velvet around 3 a.m., something felt different. There were new faces in the club, 3 guys in expensive suits who weren't partying, weren't drinking, just watching. And they were watching the counting room specifically.
Okay, so you got spotters, basically. Dudes who are there to observe, not participate. That's never a good sign. Did you say anything to Marcus? Did he acknowledge them?
That's the thing. Marcus was different that night, too. When I walked into the counting room, he was sweating. Not hot sweating, like nervous sweating. His hands were shaking when he was counting the money. And he kept looking at his phone every 30 seconds like he was waiting for a call or a text. I've seen that behavior before in Afghanistan. It's what people look like when they know something bad is about to happen.
Man, that's your gut telling you to walk away right there. But I know you didn't walk away because we wouldn't be having this conversation. What made you decide to still take the job? Was it the money or were you thinking you could handle whatever came up?
Honestly, a little bit of both. The money was good, $2,200 for this run because it was a larger amount, but also I was confident in my skills. I had done this route a dozen times. I knew the roads. I had an armored Suburban with bulletproof glass and run flat tires, and my partner for the run was a guy named Tommy, former cop, solid dude, knew how to handle himself. I thought even if something went wrong, we could handle it.
Okay, so you got Tommy with you, you got the armored vehicle, you feeling like you got this under control. But before you loaded up, did you pull Marcus aside? Did you try to get any intel about what was really going on? Because from what you're describing, it sounds like Marcus knew something was about to pop off.
I did. I pulled him into the hallway away from his muscle and I said, Marcus, is there something I need to know about this money? Because you're acting like you're about to get arrested or killed, and I need to know which one. He looked at me and said, It's all clean, Bear. Just get it there safe. But his eyes were saying something completely different. His eyes were saying, I'm sorry for what's about to happen to you.
Damn, so he basically lied to your face, but you could see it wasn't the truth. That's the moment where a smart person turns around and walks out, but you loaded the money anyway. What was going through your head when you were putting those bags in the truck?
I was doing math in my head. $340,000 in cash weighs about 34 pounds if it's mostly hundreds. We loaded it into a lockbox in the back of the Suburban, secured it, did our pre-trip vehicle check. Tommy was running through the route on his phone. I was checking the mirrors, making sure nobody was watching us load. But the whole time I'm thinking, if this money is dirty, who does it belong to? And if someone's going to try to take it, when and where are they going to make their move?
See, that's the difference between somebody who's been in combat and somebody who just thinks they're tough. You're already running scenarios, already thinking 3 steps ahead. So you load it up, you and Tommy get in the truck, and you pull out. What time did you leave Velvet?
We left at 3:15 a.m. Streets were mostly empty, just some drunk people stumbling out of clubs, a few homeless folks. The route was straightforward. Take Ocean Drive to I-95 South, straight shot to Fort Lauderdale, about 35 minutes at that hour. Tommy was riding shotgun, literally had a Mossberg 12 gauge between his legs, and I had my Glock 19 on my hip. We weren't playing around.
Okay, so you're armed, you're in an armored vehicle, you're on a route, you know? When did you first notice you were being followed? Because I know it didn't take long.
About 10 minutes in, right after we merged onto I-95, I noticed headlights in my rearview mirror, black Escalade, tinted windows, keeping pace but not closing distance. At first I thought maybe it's just someone else heading south, coincidence. But then I changed lanes to test them, and they changed lanes too. That's when I knew.
Hold up, so you do the lane change test. That's straight out of the surveillance detection playbook. They mirror your moves, so now you know for sure you got a tail. What did you say to Tommy? Did he see it too?
I told Tommy, we've got a tail, black Escalade, 3 cars back. He turned around to look and said, could be nothing, man. Could just be someone going the same direction. But I could hear it in his voice. He was trying to convince himself more than me. In this work, you develop a sixth sense for surveillance. This felt wrong. The way they were maintaining distance, the way they matched our speed exactly, the way they didn't pass even when the left lane was open.
Yeah, that's not normal driver behavior. Normal people are trying to get home. They're speeding up or slowing down, changing lanes. These cats are locked on you. So now you know you got a problem, but you're still on the highway, still moving. When did it escalate?
About 5 minutes later, I see a second vehicle, silver SUV, looked like a Yukon or a Tahoe, coming up fast in the left lane. And that's when I knew this wasn't random. One tail could be coincidence. 2 vehicles working together, that's coordination. That's a planned operation. I told Tommy, we got a second vehicle, left side, closing fast. He grabbed the shotgun and said, what do you want to do?
Okay, so now you got 2 vehicles, they're coordinating, and you're boxed in on a highway doing what, 70, 80 miles an hour? What are your options at that point? Because you can't exactly pull over and have a conversation.
We were doing about 75. I had 3 options, brake hard and try to fall back, hoping they'd overshoot and I could exit behind them, accelerate and try to outrun them, which is risky because the Suburban is heavy and doesn't handle great at high speed, or take the next exit and try to lose them in surface streets. I was running through scenarios when they made their move.
Wait, hold up. They made their move. What does that mean? Walk me through exactly what happened, because this is where it gets real.
The Escalade accelerated hard, pulled alongside us on the right. The silver SUV did the same on the left. We were boxed in, 3 vehicles running parallel at 80 miles per hour, and then I saw it, the passenger window on the Escalade starting to roll down. That's when I knew this wasn't a shakedown, this wasn't intimidation. They were going to shoot.
Oh, hell no. So you got dudes on both sides, window coming down, and you're trapped in the middle lane. Tommy sees this too.
Tommy saw it, and he said, Bear, they're going to shoot, they're going to shoot. And I had maybe 3 seconds to make a decision. If I brake, they brake with me, and we're still boxed in. If I accelerate, same problem. The only option was to break the box, and the only way to do that was to take the exit that was coming up in about 500 feet.
So you're about to cut across 2 lanes of traffic at 80 miles an hour to hit an exit ramp. That's some action movie type driving right there. What happened next?
I cut hard right, no signal, no warning. The Suburban's heavy, but it handles better than you'd think. Tires screaming, Tommy's yelling, and I hear gunfire, pop, pop, pop. But it's behind us now because I broke out of the box. I hit the exit ramp doing about 60 in a 25, barely holding the turn, and I'm just praying the tires don't blow because even though they're run flats, at that speed anything can happen.
Damn, so you made the exit, you're hearing shots, but you're out of the immediate kill zone. Did the bullets hit the truck? And more importantly, did they follow you off the exit?
The bullets hit the rear window and the back panel. The bulletproof glass held, but it spider-webbed, looked like a windshield after a bad hailstorm. And yeah, they followed. The Escalade made the exit behind us maybe 5 seconds later. The silver SUV missed it, had to keep going, but now we got one vehicle on our tail, and we're on surface streets in Hallandale Beach at 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you lost one vehicle, but you still got the Escalade chasing you. Now you're in a residential area, streets are tighter, you can't go as fast. What's the plan? Are you trying to get to a police station or are you just trying to lose them?
I'm trying to get to anywhere with witnesses, cameras, police presence. Tommy's on the phone trying to call 911, but the line's busy. It's 3:30 a.m. in South Florida, probably 10 other emergencies happening. Domestic violence calls, drunk driving accidents. We're on our own. I'm running red lights, taking turns at 50 miles an hour, and the Escalade is staying with us. These guys were professionals. They knew how to tail, how to anticipate which way I'd turn.
So 911 ain't answering, you're being chased by professionals and you're just trying to survive. At what point did you realize this wasn't about the money? Because 340,000 is a lot, but the way they're coming at you, this feels personal.
That's exactly what I realized during the chase. If they just wanted the money, they would have tried to stop us, force us out of the vehicle, take the cash, and leave. But they opened fire on a highway, followed us through residential streets, risked witnesses and police involvement. This wasn't a robbery. This was a hit. They wanted the money back, but they also wanted to send a message. And that message was, don't steal from us.
Hold up, so you're saying the money you were transporting was stolen? Like it originally belonged to these dudes in the Escalade? Man, Marcus really set you up. Did you know any of this before you took the job?
I didn't know until later, but I found out from a contact in local PD that the organization had been using Velvet to wash money. They'd bring dirty cash in, run it through the club as revenue, then move it to legitimate accounts. But someone in the organization got greedy, started skimming. The $340,000 I was moving, about $80,000 of it belonged to people who don't forgive theft, and they wanted it back.
So you're basically transporting stolen money without knowing it, and now the original owners are trying to kill you to get it back. That's insane. So you're still being chased. Tommy's freaking out. 911 ain't answering. Where did you end up? Because I know this chase had to end somewhere.
We ended up in a warehouse district, empty streets, no witnesses, no cameras. Worst place you could possibly be. I was trying to navigate back toward a main road, but the Escalade cut us off, pulled ahead and stopped sideways, blocking the road. We were trapped. Behind us was the silver SUV. They'd caught up somehow, must have taken parallel streets, front and back, boxed in again.
Nah, see, this is what I'm talking about. These dudes knew what they were doing. They herded you into a kill zone, somewhere isolated where they could finish the job without witnesses. What did Tommy say when he realized you were trapped?
Tommy looked at me and his face was white, man. He said, Bear, we're done. We got to give them the money. And I understood where he was coming from. It's not our money. We're just the drivers. Why die for cash that doesn't belong to us? But I knew something he didn't. If we gave up that money, we weren't walking away. These guys couldn't leave witnesses who could ID them, describe their vehicles, testify in court. We were dead either way.
Facts. That's the calculation people don't understand. They think if you just cooperate, the bad guys will let you go. But when you're dealing with organized crime, with people who've already committed to violence, cooperation don't mean survival. So you're trapped front and back. What happened next? Did they get out of the vehicles?
4 men got out of the Escalade, all armed. I saw at least 2 pistols and what looked like an AR-15. They started walking toward us, slow and deliberate. No masks, no attempt to hide their faces. That told me everything I needed to know. They didn't care if we saw them because they weren't planning on us being alive to ID them later. The message was clear. Get out, hand over the money, maybe you die quick instead of slow.
Man, that's terrifying. 4 armed dudes walking towards you like the Terminator, and you're sitting in the truck trying to figure out your next move. Tommy's saying give up the money, but you know that's a death sentence. What were your actual options at that point?
I looked in my rearview mirror. The silver SUV was behind us, blocking retreat, but there was a gap, maybe 3 feet, between the SUV and a concrete barrier on the right side. Tight, real tight, but the Suburban's only about 6.5 feet wide. If I could squeeze through, we'd be back on an open road. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot we had.
Wait, so you're thinking about ramming backward through a 3 foot gap between a vehicle and a concrete wall in an armored Suburban while dudes with AR 15s are walking towards you? That's some wild calculated risk right there. Did you tell Tommy what you were about to do?
I told Tommy, put your seatbelt on and hold on to something. He said, what are you doing? I said, something stupid. Then I threw the Suburban in reverse and floored it. The armored Suburban weighs about 7,000 pounds. When you hit something in reverse at 30 miles per hour, it's not like the movies. It's loud, violent, metal screaming, glass breaking. We clipped the silver SUV hard, spun it sideways, and I kept going, kept my foot on the gas.
Yo, that's insane. So you just said, forget it, we're going through, and you rammed the SUV out of the way. Did you make it through the gap or did you hit the concrete barrier too?
We scraped the concrete barrier on the passenger side, took the mirror clean off, but we made it through. And the whole time this is happening, bullets are hitting the rear window. Bulletproof glass held, but it was completely spiderwebbed, couldn't see out the back anymore. Tommy was screaming, I was screaming, and then we were through, back on the main road, and I was doing 90 toward the nearest highway on-ramp.
Damn, so the bulletproof glass did its job. That's what you pay for right there. Did the Escalade try to follow you or did you lose them after that?
The Escalade tried to follow, but we had a lead. By the time they turned around and got back on the road, we were already merging onto I-95 again. I got into early morning traffic, mixed in with trucks and people heading to work, and we just disappeared. Kept changing lanes, took a different exit, doubled back. They lost us.
Okay, so you escaped, you're back on the highway, you lost the tail. What's Tommy doing at this point? Because I'm guessing he's either in shock or he's ready to quit this job immediately.
Tommy was white as a sheet, checking himself for bullet wounds, checking me for bullet wounds. We were both okay somehow. The money was intact. But Tommy looked at me and said, I'm done, Bear. After this run, I'm done. I got a wife. I got kids. This ain't worth it. And I couldn't blame him. We just survived something most people don't survive.
Real talk, that's a completely understandable reaction. So you got away, you got the money, but you still got to deliver it. Did you go straight to the Fort Lauderdale location or did you do something else first?
We delivered the money, pulled up to the Fort Lauderdale location at 4:30 a.m., 2 hours late, Suburban covered in bullet holes and scrapes, missing a mirror, rear window completely destroyed. The client took one look and said, what the hell happened? I said, your money tried to go home. He didn't think it was funny. Took the money, paid us, and said we were done. Never worked for them again.
Hold up, so you complete the job, deliver the money, almost die in the process, and they just say we're done. No bonus, no hazard pay, just thanks for not losing our dirty money. That's cold.
That's the business, man. They don't care that we almost died. They care that the money got delivered. And honestly, I was fine with being done. That job had bad written all over it from the beginning. I should have walked away when I saw Marcus sweating in the counting room.
Facts, your gut was telling you the whole time. So what happened with Marcus? Because you said he set you up, he knew that money was hot. Did he face consequences?
Marcus disappeared 3 days later. Just gone. Left his apartment, left his car, left Miami. Word on the street was the organization found out about the skimming and handled it internally. I don't know if he's alive or dead. Don't want to know. But I do know he's not in Miami anymore.
Damn, so the organization caught up with him. That's what happens when you steal from people who don't believe in second chances. What about Tommy? You said he was done with security work. Did he actually quit?
Tommy quit the next day, moved back to Ohio, got a job in corporate IT making way less money but sleeping better at night. Last time we talked, which was about a year ago, he said he still has nightmares about that night. He said he dreams about the Escalade, about the men walking toward us with guns, about the sound of bullets hitting the glass. Can't say I blame him. That night changed both of us.
Man, that's real. PTSD is no joke, and people don't realize security work can mess you up mentally just like combat. So Tommy's out, Marcus is gone, the money got delivered. Did you ever find out who those men in the Escalade were? Like, did you get any closure on who was actually trying to kill you?
I never found out who they were specifically, but I know who sent them. My contact in local PD told me the syndicate that was using Velvet to wash money was connected to a Colombian organization. These weren't street thugs, these were professionals, enforcers, sicarios, people who do this for a living. The fact that they let us live tells me they got the message across. They recovered some of their money, they handled Marcus, and they sent a warning to anyone else thinking about skimming.
Wait, hold up. You said they let you live. Does that mean they could have killed you but chose not to? Or did you just get lucky?
2 weeks after the run, I got a call from an unknown number. Guy on the other end had a slight accent, spoke perfect English. He said, "You drove well that night. Smart move, going in reverse. You cost us a vehicle and some pride, but you got the job done. Respect." Then he said, "Don't take any more jobs involving our money. Next time we won't miss." Then he hung up.
Nah, that's wild. So they called you personally to give you props for escaping, but also to warn you. That's some cartel movie type stuff right there. How did that call make you feel? Were you scared, relieved, what?
Honestly, both. Scared because they had my number, which means they knew who I was, where I lived, everything about me. But also relieved because the call meant they were done with me. If they wanted me dead, they wouldn't have called, they would have just done it. The call was a professional courtesy. You did your job, we respect that, but stay out of our business.
That's crazy, man. So they gave you a pass, but also put you on notice. Did you change your number, change your address, take any precautions after that call?
I changed my number immediately, moved to a different apartment, and I stopped taking nightclub jobs entirely. No more Miami, no more cash runs for clubs, no more jobs where I couldn't vet the client and the money. That call was a wake-up moment for me. I realized I'd been playing Russian roulette with my life for a paycheck.
Real talk, that's the smartest move you could have made. A lot of guys in this industry chase the money and ignore the warning signs until it's too late. So how did this whole experience change the way you approach high-risk transport work? Because I know you're still doing it, just differently.
It changed everything. Before that night, I was taking jobs based on the money. If the pay was good, I'd do it. Didn't matter who the client was or where the money came from. After that night, I realized that high-risk transport isn't just about driving and shooting. It's about knowing when the job is dirty, when to walk away, when to trust your gut. Now I vet every client, every job, every dollar. If something smells wrong, I pass. Money's not worth your life.
That's wisdom right there. A lot of young guys getting into this work need to hear that. The money's tempting, especially when you're making $2,200 for a few hours of work, but you got to ask yourself if it's worth dying for. What's your vetting process now? Like, how do you determine if a job is legit or if it's going to turn into another Velvet situation?
First thing I do is research the client. Who are they? What do they do? How do they make their money? If I can't find legitimate business records, tax filings, online presence, that's a red flag. Second, I ask questions. Where's the money coming from? Where's it going? Why does it need armed transport? If the answers are vague or don't make sense, I walk. Third, I trust my gut. If something feels wrong, if the client is nervous or evasive, if there are too many unknowns, I pass on the job.
That's a solid process. And I'm guessing you charge more now too because your experience and your vetting are worth something. Are you still making good money even though you're more selective about jobs?
I make better money now because I'm selective. The clients I work with know I'm not just a driver, I'm a professional who's been tested under fire. They're willing to pay premium rates for someone who's not going to panic when things go wrong, someone who can assess risk and make smart decisions. I charge $2,000 to $3,000 per run now, sometimes more depending on the job.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You leveled up by almost getting killed, learned from it, and now you're getting paid what you're actually worth. That's the business side people don't see. So let me ask you this. Do you ever think about that night? Like, do you have nightmares like Tommy, or have you processed it differently?
I think about it all the time. Not nightmares exactly, but I'll be driving and I'll see an Escalade in my rear view and my heart rate goes up. Or I'll smell cocaine and I'm back in that counting room at Velvet watching Marcus sweat. It's not PTSD like Tommy has, but it's there, you know? It's a reminder that this work is real, the consequences are real, and you're one bad decision away from not coming home.
Facts, and that's healthy awareness. You're not traumatized, but you're not complacent either. You remember what can happen, so you stay sharp. That's the balance you need in this work. So, looking back, if you could go back to that morning at Velvet, would you still take the job or would you walk away?
Honestly, I'd walk away. The $2,200 wasn't worth almost dying. It wasn't worth Tommy quitting the industry. It wasn't worth Marcus disappearing or getting that phone call from the syndicate. But at the same time, I learned more from that one night than I learned in a year of safe jobs. It taught me how to read situations, how to make life or death decisions under pressure, how to survive when everything goes wrong. So I don't regret it, but I wouldn't do it again.
That's real, man. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the most valuable. So, for people listening who are thinking about getting into high risk transport or security work in general, what's your advice? What do they need to know before they take their first job?
First, get training, real training, not just a weekend course, but tactical driving, firearms, threat assessment, emergency medical. You need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Second, know your worth. Don't take jobs just for the money, especially if the money seems too good to be true. Third, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your life is worth more than any paycheck. And fourth, have a backup plan. Know your exits, know your safe zones, know who to call when things go sideways.
All solid advice. And I'd add one more thing. Know who you're working for. Do your homework on the client, understand the risk, and don't get involved with people who are going to put a target on your back. Bear, this has been an incredible conversation, man. Thank you for sharing this story and for being real about the dangers of this work.
Appreciate you having me, Jay. If this story helps one person make a smarter decision or avoid a bad situation, then it was worth sharing.
Facts. So before we wrap up, I got to ask, are you still doing high risk transport work today, or have you moved on to something else?
I'm still doing it, but like I said, I'm way more selective. I work with a small group of vetted clients, mostly legitimate businesses, cryptocurrency firms, private collectors moving high value items. Nothing sketchy, nothing that's going to turn into another Velvet situation. I also do consulting now, teaching other security professionals how to assess risk and plan for high threat scenarios.
That's smart, man. You're using your experience to help others avoid the mistakes you made. That's how you build a legacy in this industry. So if people want to connect with you, learn from you, maybe hire you for consulting, how can they reach out?
They can find me through professional security networks, or they can reach out through your platform. I'm careful about who I work with, but if someone's serious about learning and doing things the right way, I'm happy to help.
Perfect. All right, everybody. That's Alejandro Bear Jackson, armed escort specialist and high risk transport professional. This story right here is a reminder that security work ain't a game. It's real consequences, real danger, and real decisions that can mean life or death. If you got value from this episode, do me a favor. Subscribe to The Protection Perspective wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, share it with someone in the industry who needs to hear this. And if you got a story like Bear's, something that changed how you see security work, reach out to me. I want to hear it. Bear, any final words for people listening? Anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, know what you're protecting and who you're protecting it for. Not every job is worth taking. And trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your life is worth more than any paycheck. Stay safe out there.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, y'all, that's it for this episode. I'm Jason, aka Big J, and this is The Protection Perspective. Stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, security ain't just about what you do, it's about what you don't do. Peace.